Meow. Today's video, we're going to be checking out the DC Collectibles DC Comics Designers Series. This is the Jay Lee figure number 4, Catwoman. Before we sink our claws into Catwoman, yes, I am here all night, we're going to first figure out how tall she is. That's a good logical step. The figure stands at 7 inches in height, or if you are somebody that follows something in centimeters, here in Canada we do, you're looking at a figure that's 17.7 centimeters in height. For those raising their hands and saying that, yes, you have reviewed this before, you are correct. I have. Long time ago. Like this Catwoman, so we're having a look at her again. The accessories that she comes included with are her whip. And what I do like about the whip, though, is that it's actually cording. It's an actual thread as opposed to being sculpted plastic. Sure, yes, the end is plastic. The handle to the end, even like this part right here, the little looplet, is all sculpted plastic. I already have a little bit of a wear stress mark there, sadly. But the rest of it, though, completely intact. Unfortunately, though, and I don't even remember if I mentioned this in the initial review of her, if you look at her hands have, of course, an opening. An opening that would make sense that you could, in theory, fit something through it. Unfortunately, though, right here, you can see what they've done. They've sculpted the finger connecting its way to the thumb. So try as you possibly might to pry the fingers away, you simply just can't pry the finger away from the thumb. It's molded shut. Ultimately, it means that you can't fit the whip properly in her hand. A fix and a certain workaround, I suppose, to it is you could take the end of the whip. This never really works, but you can feed the whip through this way and then just sort of force it through. Like I said, it's not going to go very far because, well, the end is just way too closed shut. Again, you just want to force it, force it, force it. Pray to the heavens upstairs that you're never going to need to take this whip out and do this repeatedly because it's just a pain in the butt. But, I mean, in theory, it does fit, but it fits so awkwardly, so unnecessary, such a struggle that I had to do just to get that through. The other thing that Catwoman comes with is an interchangeable head, either which would be passable certainly on the figure. I feel like the lips portion, I don't know why, but I find the bottom mouth seems to work a little bit better on the masked version than I find on the unmasked version. That's just my own feelings, if you will. Certainly, though, they could have grimaced her teeth, shown a little bit of teeth peeking their way through the lips, as opposed to having the face essentially basically the same, other than the fact that the goggles aren't down. I probably would have done some luxury, something different, I think, with the mouth in this instance. Either which head is passable. This head, though, this is the default head. I'll switch it over to this head in a second, but the defaulted head looks good, but there's something somewhat so sad about Catwoman's mouth there. She's so distraught about something. I don't know what it is. Maybe she's lost the cat. Maybe she's been thwarted in a jewel robbery. Who knows? But she seems so real sad. That's such a shame. The skin tone is one of my favorite aspects about it. I know that's such a crazy thing to be complimenting the figure for, but I really like the skin tone. It's really warm, and it's otherwise a nice contrast to what we normally get for some of these DC collectible figures, where the skin looks so pale and so sickly. Here, quite the contrast, quite the opposite, actually. The eyes look good. Again, something's wrong with the mouth. It is definitely, though, one of my favorite Catwomen, all the more reasoning why I did want to go back to it. The figures themselves were sculpted by Jonathan Matthews, by the way, just in case anybody was wondering, but the artwork is based on original artwork by Jay Lee. I will say, though, of the 4 figures, and those 4 figures of this set would have been the Batman, the Wonder Woman, the Superman, all of which I did review. You'll find so far the only one I've gone back and re-reviewed is the Catwoman. There's got to be something to be said for that. We're going to go ahead and pop the head off. There we go. A nice big ball joint, but not certainly something that's going to be in the way of things. Putting on heads can be a little bit on the more trickier side, so you really have to apply a little bit more pressure. There you go. Give me strength. There we go. And we have this head sculpt then as your swappable option. Again, for anyone that missed it, this was the original head sculpt. Yeah. Could have done something with the expression. I think missed opportunity, in my own opinion. The rest of the body, though, is sculpted, yes. Painted, not quite. Instead favoring more so molded plastic than anything else. It certainly has a high-level degree of unnecessary wrinkles. Wrinkles where you would look at it and be like, okay, yeah, I guess it needs to have wrinkles there. Here up at the top, it makes sense. Around here, I don't know, it's sculpt almost for the sake of sculpt. Now, in keeping with the fact that this is based on artwork, Jay Lee's design is really like this. But it doesn't make any logical sense where certain little creases, little pulls in the fabric should really be. Again, the weirdest part is right here. This is where I'm looking at this. I don't know what's going on. But still, it comes together. Somehow, molding this all in black plastic passes the figure off a lot better than if you had all this ridiculous creasing on a lighter colored figure. I don't think it would work as well. Well, you saw the review of my Superman review. I think I might have even mentioned it in that. It's an interesting figure, that Superman, but certainly I don't know if I would ever go back and revisit the figure, if you will. I certainly did want to go back and revisit this Catwoman because it is one of my all-time favorites in the 7-inch variety. I'm going to go ahead and take the whip right out. Like I said, feeding it through probably from the rope, your best logical step, because again, I just don't know why they had to mold the finger to the thumb. Poseability on Catwoman here. Her head rotates all the way around. There we go. And because it is a ball joint, you can hinge it up and down. You can tilt it back and forth. Then she also has joints on her arms. It is surprising, let me just clarify that, how much poseability this figure has. Normally, DC collectible figures don't have this amount of range of articulation. Let me just get into why. Arms rotate all the way around. Got a bend at the elbow. Okay, that's a little on the weak side. Gloves rotate, though. That's something. Glove rotates also on this side. No surprise there. Waist doesn't swivel. However, the legs split out. Something that you don't see a lot, at least in the designer series. Forward and back on the legs. She has bend at the knee. Let's not also forget a lower thigh cut right there, swivel. And she also has a swivel in the boots. So she gets a fair share. One trade-off, unfortunately, though, she does have one peg hole. I suppose she could have had 2. I don't know why you'd need necessarily 2, but it's a good-looking figure. It's always been one of my personal favorites. I do like the face, although I do think the mouth always seemed to look off to me. And the biggest problem, of course, is trying to put that blasted whip in her hand. But still, it's a good-looking Catwoman if you should ever want to pick her up. Admittingly, when I first had a look at the designer series Jay Lee figures, I didn't really like any of them, except for Catwoman. Catwoman I did like, and all the more reasoning why I wanted to go back and have a look at this figure again. She does have some weird things about her, weird quirks, if you will. When you look at the molded plastic of her bodysuit, wrinkles just appear to be there for no reason whatsoever. It doesn't really make sense that that is part that's stretched or part that she's currently bending with her joints. It just is wrinkled for the sake of being wrinkled. Still, that's something I could certainly overlook because I do like the head sculpts. She's a little on the sad side for the defaulted head. She's not grimacing on the secondary head, which would have been a nice touch. But overall, I do really like this figure. It's one of my personal favorites of the Catwoman releases, and all the more reasoning why I wanted to go back and have a look at her again. She's a fairly affordable figure. You might even still be able to find her at your local comic book stores if you wish to pick her up. And the price point on her would be, on average, your regular $25 to $30 price range. I still would say a nice little pickup. Of the designer series, she's definitely one of the better ones. In fact, she may be the best one of the designer series. Just want to stress that, the designer series. Today, though, we were going back and having a look at the DC Collectibles. This was the DC Comics designer series, Jay Lee. This happened to also be figure number 4, and this happened also to be a really neat-looking Catwoman who has the toughest of times holding her whip, as we saw over the course of this review. Speaking of reviews, if you want to check out some future reviews on this channel, make sure you hit that little subscribe button down below. And also, as well, make sure you head over to the main page, check out the videos section, see if there's anything you may have missed along the way. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.